Hey, friends, so glad to have you with us today. Thanks for chiming in. We certainly appreciate it. Just wanted to weigh in on the exciting events that happened this past weekend in Atlanta and send out congratulations to Tyler Perry for all that he has accomplished and what he's done. Just looking at the pictures on social media and even looking at some of the comments that people who were there and those who were just admiring some of the pictures and all of the accomplishments. I mean, bravo, hat off to him for all that he has done. He obviously is making an impact, not just in the earth, an impact in the Atlanta area, an impact into people's lives, giving people jobs. I mean, allowing just this army base that used to be used for one thing. Now he's taken it over and he's using it for good to make a difference in people's lives and to really just change the landscape of what's happening in the Atlanta area and in the Southeast. So that's pretty exciting. And just wanted to say thank you for following your dreams, Mr. Perry. Thank you for just dreaming and dreaming big. I saw an interview that he did, and he said that he wanted to inspire people and encourage people to think outside the box and encourage them to dream big and really encourage them to do more than what they were doing and not to settle for less. And I must say, seeing those pictures just really ignited something in me. It has encouraged me to think outside the box. It has encouraged me to move forward and not to step back and not to stay back in an area of, I guess, fear, if you're really honest about it. So just wanted to just put my 2 cents in with that. But also, as I began to think about it, my thought was, I'm sure that there were, of course, we know some of the obstacles that he had to overcome in order to get to where he is now. But also, I'm sure that there were people who were chiming in and saying negative things about him on social media and just, even probably things that he heard even negative things that were said. So my thought was that he didn't focus on the negative things that people were saying to him. He didn't focus on those things, but he paid attention and put his energy and focused on the things that he knew would make a difference in his life. He focused on the things that would move him forward. He focused on what we might define as the good part. He focused on what would take him to his destiny. And that's where he put his energy. That's where he put his focus. And that's where he moved forward. I wanted to bring this to your attention and just kind of make you think about this. And even thinking about the whole process of Tyler Perry just getting this studio built and having this big gala and just doing everything that he was doing, it made me think about the story of David and Goliath. And I know you're probably thinking, like, where is she going with this? But just hang on there with me. I think it'll make sense to you and it might even bless you a little bit. David and Goliath. And David, I won't go through the entire story. You're welcome to go and read that. But I just want to tell you about the excerpt that really caught my attention. David went to the battlefield where the army was there, and Goliath was on one side, the army was on the other side. And Goliath was just saying, send out, who can you send out to fight me? Who do you think is big and bad? Who can come and conquer me? Who can, who can come and knock me out, or who can win this battle against me? Do you have anybody that's qualified to fight me? And so David, his dad sent him to the battlefield to take food to his brothers. His brothers were in the army. And so he brought the food. And so he heard Goliath like making all these accusations and double dog daring and triple dog daring and double dog dare you with bacon on top and all that stuff. And so he asked one of the other soldiers, like, hey, what's going on? Why isn't anybody challenging this giant? Why isn't anybody, responding to what he's saying? And basically the soldier told him kind of what was going on. But his brother, David's brother, overheard David having this conversation with this other soldier. And so his brother was just like totally irritated with David being there and said, what are you doing here? And who did you leave those sheep with anyway? Basically, get out of here. This is a place for grown men, not you. Get out of here. We don't want you here. I just kind of added a little bit, but basically that's what he said. The word says that he was irritated with David. And so David's response to his brother was, "Can I not even ask a question? I mean, what have I done now?" And so it was like, just leave me alone, basically. But then the next verse says that David turned from his brother and turned to another soldier and began to ask him the same thing. What is going on here? Like, explain to me basically what's happening here with this Goliath, and why isn't anybody fighting him? And then, he began to find out what the person who would get, the word got back to Saul, and then the Saul told what the person would get who would go out and fight Goliath. But anyway, I want to go back to that point where David and his brothers had an altercation. And it reminded me of, I'm sure, the things that Tyler Perry had to deal with. He had a choice to make. He could either choose to pay attention to what was being said about him on social media, or he could focus his energy on what he wanted to do for the future. He could focus his energy on building this empire. He could focus his energy on having a plan and a vision, and really looking to see what he could do for the future. Or he could focus on responding to people who were saying negative things, who were saying unkind things, who were saying things that weren't true, maybe saying things that were true. His energy, he decided to focus his attention and his energy to doing something that would get him to his future. David, he could have stood there and argued with his brother about why he was out on the battlefield, why he was asking questions, why he was wondering what Goliath was doing. David, in that next verse, it says that he turned away from his brother and turned to another soldier. David could have wasted his energy, wasted his focus, wasted his time arguing with his brother, or he could have put his energy and his focus and his time into figuring out what was going to get him to the kingdom. Because David chose not to focus on the argument with his brother and focus on what was happening with Goliath, he ultimately ended up in Saul's army and in his camp and in the kingdom. It took him to his destiny. So I want to say to you, I want to ask you, what are you focusing on? What are you putting your energy toward? What are you wrapping yourself up in? Is it something that's going to hold you stagnant to where you are? Is it something that's going to keep you in the place that you've been? Is it something that's going to keep you from moving forward? Or are you going to focus your energy and your time and your talents into something that's going to get you to your destiny? Something that's going to promote you, something that's going to move you forward. I had to stop and think about that, because sometimes we get into just doing things. It may not even be an argument, it may not even be a tussle, but just doing things that aren't really productive. But we're doing a lot of activity, but it's like we're on a treadmill. We're not going anywhere, but we're exerting a lot of energy. And we kind of know what those things are. Like, we know what the benefits will be on certain things that we do. But then I had to stop and think, what am I exerting my energy toward, and where is it going to take me? I heard a sermon preached a while back, and within that sermon, this really stuck with me. The minister said, never engage in a battle that doesn't have spoils. And I thought about that. We're fighting, or again, exerting energy, putting our talents toward things, and putting our emotions into it, and putting our money and our time and our energy and our imagination into things that aren't going anywhere. They aren't going anywhere. And we know that. Sometimes we do know that. Sometimes we don't, but most of the time we know that. Or are we going to put our talents and our emotions and our money and our imagination into things that are going to get us from point A to point B to point C to point D? All of that. I said all of that to say, think about what you're doing with your life. Think about where you're exerting your energy. Think about where you're putting your talents and your money, and think about the things that you're putting your imagination toward. Are they actually moving you toward something that will benefit you in the long run? Are they actually moving you toward something that will make a difference in your life or in someone else's life in the long run? Or are we just on a treadmill, just working up a sweat, but going nowhere? Working up a sweat, but not accomplishing anything. I got all of that out of him opening up this studio, out of him having this grand celebration this past weekend. It really touched my heart. It really encouraged my heart. And the other thing is, the other component is, he doesn't know me from a bag of salt, but he has inspired me. He has encouraged my heart. He has ignited something within me, just seeing what he has accomplished. So my question to you is, who is sitting on the sidelines waiting for you to accomplish what you're supposed to accomplish, waiting for you to walk in what you've been created to walk into? Who's sitting on the sidelines waiting for you to make an impact, waiting for you to accomplish something so that you will inspire them to do more? He's done his part. And from what I hear, he isn't done. There's more to come from him. But I'm asking you, what do we have to look forward to coming from you? And it doesn't have to be something on that grand of a scale at all. But I know that there is something that you've been made to do. And I just wanted to take the time to encourage you to say, not to give up, not to get on the treadmill, not to get in a tit for tat with people, or even with dead end jobs. And, don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up and don't settle. That's the point. No matter what it is, don't give up and don't settle. Keep pressing forward. Keep making a difference. Keep dreaming big, and keep imagining this. Imagine this. That was the title of his weekend celebration. Imagine this. So I want to encourage you to imagine your life in a better place. Imagine this. We always think about the negative aspects of things that we do, the possibilities of the negative happening. But I want to ask you, imagine if it worked out. Imagine if things went well. Imagine if you got the money you needed. Imagine if the doors opened. Imagine if everybody that you reached out to responded to you in the affirmative. Just imagine if things went right. You'll never know unless you try. Please allow this to encourage your heart to get outside of your box and imagine doing things bigger and better and greater. Because I know it's in you. Absolutely. I may not know you, but I know that God doesn't make junk. I know it's in you. Imagine this. Thanks for joining us. We hope that this has encouraged you, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.